My guest today is Candy Whirley. And Candy is an expert at breaking down barriers so that people will work better together, learn to deal with change, improve communication, and become more creative. She's an experienced speaker who has worked in industries including training, retail, customer service, and she's also certified by the International Customer Service Association. But I think one of the most fascinating things about Candy, and she's a ball of fire, she was a cheerleader for the Kansas City Chiefs. However,
Ooh.
she also is experienced in management, youth ministry, and she was the owner of an international and national speaking business for 15 years. So she is a smart lady. She graduated cum laude from Missouri Western State University and has a master's in management from the University of Phoenix. And she is a speaking professional at CSP, as I am, and we love each other for this. And she's very involved as an entrepreneur and a volunteer with NSA, the National Speakers Association. And she was president of her chapter and was also part of the national level of leadership for NSA. So, Candy, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Gail. I'm so excited.
You've got a book. It's called It Takes Four to Tango. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your book before we delve into everything else. Why does it take four to tango?
It takes four to tango, Gail, because it's about the four basic personalities. Most people are very familiar with the True Colors test or DISC, DISC. And so what I've done is I've just taken all that information and made it fun. And I talk about the four personalities, and they are four animals. I have a chameleon, a lion, a lamb, and an owl. And when I speak about this, I give people characteristics of those personalities, and they self-identify. So it's so much fun, and it's a great take on it takes two to tango, and it's like, nope, it takes four personalities, usually in business, in our personal life. So that's what that means.
And even if we don't have the four personalities ourselves, which heaven help us if we do, but if we do, we have to learn to work with all of these different people. So it's really important that we are aware of what they are. And I certainly know that there are some of those personalities that are not the easiest for me to deal with, but I've learned how to get along with them. So you talk about a lot of the things that you've done in your life, but what's the one thing in your life that was just a left turn, unexpected, and changed your life forever?
Well, and this is on a personal note, but I'm telling you, I truly believe it was just the guide that I needed to really go towards what I'm really supposed to do. Gail, I was a dance major. I went to college. I actually got a scholarship from a beauty contest. I was second runner up and got a scholarship to a college that's near a university near me in Kansas City, and I was a dance major. And I started taking my dance classes, and all of a sudden I started feeling sick to my stomach, and there's where the left turn hit me. I found out I was pregnant,
Mm.
and huge left turn. I knew I wanted to be a Las Vegas dancer. And Gail, guess what I found out? I was never tall enough to be a Las Vegas dancer anyway. So, yes, found out that I was pregnant. That was the left turn. And I stopped going to college at that time, decided that I needed to pull my big girl pants up and take care of my son at that time. And yeah, and so that's when I started working in restaurants. Then I managed restaurants. Then one thing led to another. And here I am today as a speaker. And so I tell people when I work with women's groups, I tell my personal story. You know, sometimes our personal story doesn't fit in some of the settings, but I tell my personal story, and I tell people that I was not supposed to be a professional dancer. I was supposed to teach people how to dance through life. And that's truly what I've been doing for the last 16 years as a motivational speaker.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, of course, we have met, and
Yes.
I'm not very tall either, and you're taller than I am. And I was a dancer. I was a dancer, although you'll find this very funny. In college, there were I did very well in school, except for two classes that I got D's in. One was dance, and I was a dancer. I was like a semi-professional dancer, and yet I got a D in that. And the other D I got was in clothing construction. And I took that so that I could learn to do my own dance costumes. And my grandfather was a tailor. And so I was brought up in that industry, not that I did it, but I was aware of it. And my mother used to sew all my dancing costumes. But I got a D in clothing construction, A's and B's and everything else, but D in clothing construction and a D in dancing. But I was accepted by the Roxyettes, not the Rockettes, but the Roxyettes, because the Roxy Theater had a dance troupe as well. However, because I was 16, and my mother said when the person called me, I had tried out in New York, and I got it. And she said, let me talk to them. And she got on the phone, and they did not answer her questions the way she wanted them to. And I never went. And I was so upset. You have no idea. To a 16-year-old, being called to go on the road with the Roxyettes was a dream, just like your dream. And
Yes.
my dream didn't happen either. So feel okay about that, Candy. So now.
Yes, we weren't supposed to be dancers, sister.
Exactly.
We weren't supposed to be dancers.
So you had this unexpected event, but I know that there had to be some positives. So, and I know what one of them was, but what were the positives to this left turn that you had?
Oh, I'm telling you, yeah. Of course, one of the positives is I became more driven, because I'll tell you what, I was the princess of the family, and I know some of our listeners probably could identify. I was the only daughter. I have 3 younger brothers. I was the princess, and listen, I'm not going to lie. I had a princess life growing up. I really didn't have to work very hard, and I pretty much got everything I wanted. I don't want to. I wasn't a snot. I wasn't a brat, but just things came easy. Let me put it that way. Things came very easy to me. So what this did, boy, I'm telling you, this just made me grow up. This made me think for myself. This made me not depend on my parents. My parents were very supportive, by the way. I lived with my parents the first 2 years of my son's life. But then by the time I was 20 years old and he was 2, we had our own apartment. I had my own car. I was on my own. By the time I was 24, I bought my first house. So as a single mom, I still wasn't married. And we lived in that house for a year. And then after that, I met the man of my dreams. I did not marry his father. So the positive was really the sky's the limit. I felt like, and I still to this day feel like this, Gayle, if I could do that, I can do anything. And then here I am, an entrepreneur, a speaker, an author, travel internationally, and in a blink, I've been doing that for 16 years. And I just feel like truly, I'm just not sure if something like that wouldn't have happened to me, that wouldn't have happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and of course, the biggest positive that came out of it was your son.
Oh my gosh, my son, and I've got 3 grandbaby boys from that son.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I had the opportunity of meeting your daughter, and she's a hoot too. So, and very,
yeah.
very attractive and very talented. So if you could tell a 30-year-old about being 50 plus, what are some of the positives you would say, and what are some of the negatives?
Well, and here's what's funny, Gail. You met Alex, and she is going to be 30 on New Year's, and so and she will ask me. She has asked me this question, and the positives. What I would tell the 30-year-old is it's just going to get better. And I know 30-year-olds at 30, you're so confused. You're trying to be adult. You're still kind of a kid. But I would tell them it's just going to get better, because you know what? I don't know about you, Gil, but I'm at a point to where if things don't work out, okay, sirrah, sirrah. If somebody doesn't like me, okay, next. It's like, I tell Alex, it's like a water on a duck's back. Things just seem to roll off easier. On the other hand, the negative, it's the physical. If you quit moving, you're going to lose it. And as our bodies get older, no matter how much yoga, how much Zumba, whatever we do, it's the aches and pains of our bones and our joints. And it's just a natural thing that happens to all of us. That's the only negative. But on the spiritual side, the emotional side, I'm loving getting older. I brag about how old I am, because it's just, I don't know, life just gets better and better and better. And I don't know, I just enjoy life more. How about you?
Well, I have to agree with you. I wish I was 35 again, because I think that's the perfect age. And if I could be 35 knowing then what I know now, that I would start all over again, So I would prefer that I would be a 35 to 40-year-old, because I just think that's the perfect age for a woman. However, nothing really stops me. So yes, I have more aches, I have more pains, I have more aches. My knees are what they weren't, and my back is bad. My shoulder gives me problem.
Yes.
But yet I work out every day, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be moving at all. So there are the positives and there are the negatives. And it's kind of hard when you hear news reports and you read articles and they talk about this elderly person and give their age, and you're older than they are. And then you say, what? What?
Yes.
That's part of the positive and negative. So you said you had your own house by the time you were 24. So you also talked about being a Kansas City cheerleader. So where did you get your start? What happened, and what was your career, and where are you now, and all of those good things?
Okay. Isn't it funny? The whole Kansas City Chiefs, they were called Chiefettes. And when we did that, I was like you, Gail, I was 16. Now the cheerleaders nowadays, you have to be, I think you have to be 21. I was 16. I was a Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader for 3 years. So I was 16, 17, 18. Yes, 16, 17, 18. When I was a Chiefs cheerleader. And I'm telling you, I absolutely loved it. And see, that just goes with being a dancer. I had taken dancing forever, and then I started doing that. And I'll tell you what, being in front of that crowd, I think it kind of hit me right then. This is what I want to do for a living. I want to be in front of a crowd. Okay, well, I'm not dancing in front of a crowd. I'm speaking in front of a crowd. So I have to say, in my career, I have been in the entertainment business my whole life. I've either been a teacher or I've been in entertainment and hospitality, because I went from being a Chiefs cheerleader to working in restaurants in every capacity, managing restaurants. I was even a youth minister for a while, so I was teaching. So no matter what I've done, it's entertaining and teaching. And I just know every single solitary step has been to get me to where I am now, because this is it. I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life. I've told my kids, I'm going to do this till you have to carry me onto the stage.
And then some, and then some.
And then some, and
yeah,
then some, yes.
I agree with you because I say, to me, this is show business. I wanted to be a singer and a dancer, and I did that, and in school majored in drama and theater and broadcasting and speech. And what I do now is the same thing. I am performing. And so you are absolutely correct. It's show business in a way, shape, or form that's a little bit different. And that's something that I think is important, to be true to who you are and what you want to do. So what would you say is one thing, and I'm going to tell you mine, and I'll tell you somebody else's too, but what's the one thing about you that no one would expect to know?
Well, one of them, but we've already talked about it. One of them is nobody can believe that I was a Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader. And here's what's so funny, but I'll give you another one. Here's what's so funny. Gayle, I still use it. You saw me speak. Mm-hmm. I still use it. And listen, it was 35, 40 years ago, but I'm telling you, it's still, isn't it funny that it's still a credibility thing? People still, when I say, hey, it was a long time ago, people are still like, we don't care. That's so cool. So
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
one thing. Yeah. And there's one thing. The other thing, and see, that's probably going to lead to, we'll talk about our secret to staying healthy. I think nobody would believe that I can do a shoulder stand. I am into yoga like nobody's business. So at 55, I can do a shoulder stand, and I have been in a swing upside down hanging off the ceiling.
Okay.
I've got the pictures to prove it.
Well, mine is when I was dancing on stage, I asked the band that was there to please move the drums because I was afraid I was going to run into them. Well, they just refused to move them. And so I was doing my little thing, my dance, and I did my little flips and so forth. And I went into the bass drum and I broke it. So that's a secret that I have, which of course now everybody knows. And there was another young lady who we used to do What's Something About You That Nobody Would Guess, and that was mine. And she was a very straight-laced banker, always in gray flannel suits, no makeup, and hers, nobody guessed either, she had a tattoo on her butt. So you just never know what that one secret is, and it's always something very interesting. So,
yes.
So you do these handstands and hanging from the ceiling. Is that your only way to staying energy stimulated, both physically and mentally, or what do you do other than yoga?
We actually live in a log cabin on 35 acres in the country. And so I also walk. And our territory, our land is very hilly. So we walk and we hike. And I totally believe in meditation and prayer. That is probably my biggest thing that I do mentally for myself to stay energized. Because I've even had people, and like, again, you've seen me speak, the energy that I exude, I mean, I have to constantly practice yoga, do hiking, practice meditation, or I could never do what I do and do it effectively. I would be exhausted.
Well,
so those are the things.
That's true. I mean, I'm not a very good meditator. I try, but I don't do a very good job at it. But I do exercise every day. And although I've had to change, what I do, I used to work out with 8 and 10 pound weights. Now I work out with 3 and 5 pound weights. but I exercise, I take classes, I ride the bike, I do those things. And it does, it keeps me energized, it keeps me mentally fit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Interestingly, though, again, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of silver sneakers classes. And I take
Yes.
silver sneakers classes, but I also take the regular classes because I think the silver sneakers classes are great too. And I always laugh when I look at these women using these 1 and 2 pound weights, and I say, you can use more than that. No, I can't. I said, I guarantee you that your handbag weighs more than 2 pounds. And they laugh because it's true. So there is a little bit of that to think about because, but again, meditation is very important, and just being quiet is very important.
Yes.
And
Yes.
being spiritually connected and taking time to think about you and what's important. All of those things are a part of your stimulation. So
Hmm.
there are things
You're
that
making me want to use weights, though. See, I feel like I need to pick because we do our suitcases when we travel, and look how much those weigh. But you're making me think, oh, I need to get back to weights because I did give that up. I need to get back to that.
well, one of the reasons weight's so important for people, especially our age, is because of the bones. I mean, the weight training
Yeah.
is what strengthens your bones. And I did a bone density test not long ago, and my bones, they said, of course, they do adjust it to your age, but my bones are better than they've ever been. And yet I'm using less weight than I've ever been. But it's, again, they base it on your age and so forth. So I would recommend getting back to the weight training because that's so, so important for so many things that I can't even begin to tell you. But do you have a suggestion as to the best way to meditate?
You know what? It's really helped being in yoga class. If you have any yoga, which I know you do, in your area, that's what helped me um, with just learning to be quiet because the instructor, we have at the end of yoga what's called shavasana, which it's about a good 15 minutes of being comfortable, being on pillows and bolsters and wrapped around in blankets and quiet with the meditation music. That helps me, the meditation music, and him saying, these thoughts are going to come into your head. Let them come into your head. Now let them go. And
It's so
just
so interesting
again,
that you say that because the yoga is one thing I don't do because it's too quiet for me. So it's interesting because years ago, now I'm talking a lot of years ago, when I first started taking yoga,
yeah.
the instructor would say, okay, now everybody relax except Gayle. Because he knew that in my head, all these thoughts were going around and around and around and around. My sister, on the other,
Oh,
was lying on the ground, and they said, relax, relax, relax. And she went to sleep. So you get the different personalities of the two of us, which is kind of interesting. But
right.
yeah, so that's very cool. So everybody who's listening, whatever you choose to do, whether it's handstands or hanging from the ceiling or yoga, or you do the weight
Yeah.
training or the bike or classes, or really both of them for that matter,
Yeah.
do something, move. That's the key. Move. That's the key to everything. So
It
we're
is,
coming.
Gail. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we're coming up on our break. We've got about a minute left. Anything you want to say in a minute, Candy?
Uh, with your bicycles, you can make your bicycle that you ride outside stationary. You can get a piece of equipment that you set on your floor, because I forgot, I have my bicycle in front of my TV. You can ride it in the house, so weather is not a problem.
Well, I do that. I do a stationary bike. I don't ride outside.
Yep.
It's too hot in Miami to do that. So I do
Yes.
ride a stationary bike. Well, everybody, hang on. We're going to be back. We're going to take a break now. Candy will be back with us in the next segment. And so just tune in with us. We'll be right back. You've had the opportunity to get to know me over the last few years, and I'd like to get to know you as well. One of the things I'm offering is training for the media. I have a wonderful program that will get you ready for any radio or TV interview you might be offered. Many of you are doing wonderful things, but no one knows about them. Others of you are successful and wonder what's next. Whether you're in a business or have a special cause or a specific event you're promoting, media can help. And I can help you master your message so you can master the media. If this sounds interesting to you, email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com with media training in the subject line. I promise I will be in touch.